Here with Malic Selimi of the Minnesota Crookston football team. Just talking a little bit about your road here. About your first off, I know you're a first generation college student. How big was it to your family when you got this opportunity at Minnesota Crookston to continue your education?
It was actually pretty big. I learned I had a lot more family than I thought I did back home. A lot of phone calls with congratulations and all of that. It's, not only is it a big deal to make it into college in my family, but to make it in college in America. A lot of family overseas that I couldn't even imagine living here, let alone going up the education system to this point.
Your parents are immigrants to the U.S. Just talk a little bit about their backstory and how it is that they came to, settle in the U.S. and in, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, near Milwaukee.
That's actually a funny story. So my dad, at a young age, he was growing up in Europe. He was working as a teenager in Germany in a pizzeria. Then he moved to Italy and worked in another restaurant. And finally, at around 17, he moved to America, where my uncle, his older brother, was living here making a living. That same uncle was friends with my grandpa on my mom's side here in America. They met each other working here. My grandpa moved to America before the rest of my mom's family moved over. He wanted to make a living here before they moved over. And so when they finally moved over, my mom was still not married yet, and my dad wasn't married yet. They weren't even talking to anybody. So my uncle told my grandpa about my dad, and he knew that my grandpa had a daughter. And then my parents met, and they got along very well. And I was born in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, actually. And then growing up, we ended up moving in an apartment in South Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in Cudahy, Wisconsin. And it wasn't the best living. It's nicknamed Cudahy. And my mom wanted to have a better life for me and my sister. So we moved into the suburbs of Oak Creek, Wisconsin. And I lived there for 13 years.
What opportunities did just being in Oak Creek allow you, in terms of educationally and, probably on the football field or just athletically as well?
Well, you have a great opportunity to train with some of the best coaches in Wisconsin. My senior year, the assistant coach was the first coach in Wisconsin to go to state in 3 different sports. It was baseball, wrestling, and football. My head coach, his father was a Hall of Fame coach in Wisconsin, and he was being looked at as being a Hall of Fame coach as well near his retirement. All the coaches had winning seasons, great accolades to their names. So definitely put my foot in the door to go on to the next level for sure. Education is a big deal as well. Oak Creek High School provided a 2020 program for kids in Milwaukee and provided an education for them. So the degree really helped too as well, the diploma. So with all that and my coaches really sticking their heads out to get my name out there and teaching me how to email coaches and all that, yeah, it was a lot. It gave me a lot of exposure.
What was it with your parents and your family members that really drew them to come to America? Do you know what their lifestyle was back it was Albania,
yeah.
Right? What their lifestyle was back there, and just what the big draw coming to America was?
Well, before my father moved to Germany to work with one of my other uncles in the pizzeria, Albania, Macedonia, and Serbia, and all those other countries were still Yugoslavia, and it was still under a communist regime. And you had to serve. My dad served for a year, and after he did his serve, serving, he finally moved to Germany. Right after that, the collapse happened of Yugoslavia, and that was when my grandpa told my mom, like, hey, of all my grandma, like, hey, let's move to America now. This is the best decision we can make to stay safe.
Have you had the opportunity to ever go back to Europe or Albania, or what's kind of your experience there?
Yes, I have been back, but it's 6 years ago was the last time I was there.
Yep.
And that was when I was still like 5'10", no facial hair, just a fat kid. So yeah, I might be going back this next summer.
Yep.
To see them. It's gonna be a big change. They know that I'm a big kid now, but I don't think they realize how big of a kid I am now.
Do you still talk a lot to your family back there, or?
Yeah, my writing and reading isn't that great, but I'm proficiently fluent in Albanian, so I can make a few phone calls, and I could definitely survive there a year if I had to.
Do they speak English, or what's their background in it, or is it pretty much Albanian?
After the collapse of Yugoslavia, a lot of my family moved all over the place.
Yeah.
I have family in Switzerland, Austria, Germany, Italy, and also in America. So, and I still have some family left in Albania and Macedonia. They all speak their own respective languages, but American is English.
Yep.
English is they all are somewhat educated in English. So even if I don't know how to talk to them, I can still go back to English and they'll somewhat understand.
There's kind of developed a Oak Creek, Wisconsin pipeline in a few sports. I know we've got, I think 4 or 5 of you from Oak Creek High School now here, between I think you and Surma, right, here playing football, and then Harrison Cleary on men's basketball, and now there's a women's basketball player, Paige, as well. Just how cool is it kind of to have connections? I don't know how much you knew any of those people. I'm guessing you knew Tyler pretty well, but from football, but that's got to be kind of cool that you guys have kind of developed a pipeline since you are a little bit away from home.
Yeah, being 10 hours away from home, you kind of, even like if you meet another Packers fan, it's a great thing. So having people from Oak Creek here is awesome. I knew Harrison. He was in my graduating class. He was a great kid, always an outstanding athlete, and you can look up all of his stats and your jaw would drop. I don't know Paige very well. I did play football with her brother though. My junior year, he was a senior, and he was a great guy too. He's playing in a respective Division III football team, I believe, now in Wisconsin. And me and Surma, we go back to freshman year in high school, and he's really driven me to pretty much work hard. He's definitely changed my perspective on football, and yeah, so having those people really does make me feel a bit more at home.
Just on the football field here, I mean, you're starting at center. I know that's a spot you don't know too well, but just how have Coach Gooding and your other coaches helped you along just developing as a player and learn new positions, whether it be playing tackle, guard, or now center?
Yeah. Well, if you know me, you know that I'm an honest person. I like to be mean. So having Coach Gooding come in, he's more of a realist as well. So when he came in, it was pretty much the first week he came in, I learned more than I did with the last coach, the 2 years I had with him. So not only did I become a better lineman, but also gain more respect for the sport that I love. And learning center definitely increased my respect for the sport. A lot of people think that offensive line, we just butt heads all day, but there's a lot more to it. You need to know the front, you need to know the blitzes, the stunts. You need to match up against your opponent well, get to the block, and just a lot of other plays you need to remember, who to get to. And at center, not only do I have to know what I have to do, but I have to be able to tell every other lineman what they have to do. So it wasn't something that I was thinking was going to be my position at the beginning of the year, but I'm very happy that it is where I am right now because it's made me a more intelligent offensive lineman.
Absolutely. When was it that you first kind of got into football? I know obviously in Europe it's not that big of a deal, but here in America it's kind of, baseball and football are kind of pastimes. So just what was it that first drew you to football? And yeah.
Well, I first played soccer. I was a goalie, so that didn't really work out very long. I wasn't that effective of a player. Baseball was kind of fun, but we got second place my first Little League year, and throughout our entire season we didn't lose any games until the end. We tied one game, and that was fun, but it just wasn't my sport. Finally, in the 5th grade, my mom said, "Okay, if he really wants to play football," and I was begging my mom to play football, we'll let Malik play football. And I fell in love with it the first day of practice. My coach was amazing, the other players were amazing, and I just felt like I fit in, And I was even when I started, I was already bigger than some of the other kids I played with. Stuck through it. Youth football went from 5th to 8th grade, but I could have started at 3rd grade, but it wasn't very well developed. By my 8th grade year, we won a championship, which is the big one, the 8th graders championship. Then freshman year in high school, there's about, I would say, 110 freshmen.
Oh wow.
About 30 of them had never played football, they just want to try it out. So from freshman year, that class of 110 guys ended up being somewhere between 12 to 16 seniors. And that just shows you how people just start falling off. They're not ready for it, they're not built for it. And then even more fall off through the transition of college. I think I kind of had something deep down inside of me that made me realize that football is bigger than the athlete. And if you know Jeremy Newman, he kind of taught me about something called Passio Bellator, which is a warrior that fights with passion. It's a Latin term, and it's someone that's willing to suffer for something they love. And I really connected to that. I feel like I'm willing to suffer for anything for this team to succeed. And ever since I started, I've always been willing to do that.